A man casually flicked his cigarette butt away, only to notice it floating down the stream. Curiosity got the better of him, and he followed the cigarette as it slipped through a manhole cover and into the sewers. Looking up, he found himself standing right in front of the Federal Reserve Bank. Jack quickly ran along the drainage path, surprised to discover that the bank's sewage system was connected to the outside network. In that instant, a bold idea struck him. Jack hastily called his friend to keep a lookout while he shoved a tape measure into the sewer. He then entered the pipe from the sewer outlet and quickly found the tape measure, thrilled with his discovery. To get a clear layout of the bank's vault, Jack snuck into the bank with a camera. However, his actions were swiftly noticed by the police, who took him to the interrogation room for questioning. Luckily, Jack had already removed the memory card, and the police found nothing suspicious. Soon, Jack had drawn up the bank's floor plan. However, they still needed to measure the distance from the sewer to the bank. Jack ingeniously used his bicycle wheel to successfully gauge the distance of this section. The group then prepared to start digging, but after a few days of work, they suddenly realized a problem. With the bank's tight security, they would undoubtedly be discovered if they dug underground. This rendered their digging efforts useless. Jack was utterly perplexed. Feeling frustrated, he could only accompany his wife and watch some chit-chat. Suddenly, inspiration struck him during the chat. He rushed to his teammate George's house that very night to share his idea. Since they couldn't open the vault door, they could take action during the bank's working hours when the vault door was open. They just needed to enter the bank from the front, pretending to be robbers, and draw everyone's attention. Meanwhile, the others could use the tunnel to empty the vault. The purpose of digging the tunnel was not for entering, but for retreating. George was instantly convinced, and the action began immediately. They split into two groups. One group brazenly entered the bank, put on their balaclavas, and started a blatant robbery. Once everyone was under control, George removed the security guard's bullets and confiscated their phones. He even deliberately sent the guard out to report to the police as planned. His teammate Nick blocked all the bank's surveillance cameras and, as planned, moved the cabinet in the basement. The other group broke through the wall from the tunnel, bringing their equipment to start looting the safe deposit boxes. By this time, the police had surrounded the outside, but George remained calm. Using the guard's phone, he negotiated with the police. As long as they didn't take drastic action, George would periodically release a hostage to buy time. Meanwhile, his accomplices in the vault were frantically opening boxes and packing the money. The packed cash was all delivered through the tunnel, where dedicated people on small boats in the sewers were waiting to receive it. Everything progressed very smoothly. As time ticked by, George noticed that the looting was nearly complete and began to call for a retreat. Before leaving, they placed all their guns on a red cloth and stuck a note on the railing. It turned out that they had used fake guns all along. Even if they were caught by the police, they wouldn't be sentenced for too long. After preparing all this, Nick and George even swept the floor clean. They then slipped into the tunnel, pulled the rope to move the cabinet back over the hole, and retrieved the rope. Just like that, they vanished from the bank without a trace. Outside, the police, noticing the prolonged silence, launched a forceful attack. But when they rushed in, apart from the hostages on the floor, there was no sign of the robbers. However, the astute police chief still discovered clues from the residue left on the ground. The chief moved the cabinet and successfully found the robbers' retreat point.